Good morning, I'm Sean.
I'm Joey.
And I'm Ian.
Today we're going to be talking about China, the next super
Power?
There are many factors why China has a rocky future and eventually a downfall to their political system. Since the incident at Tiananmen Square on June 24, 1989, we see that the communist state is still in full control of most incidents and freedoms it has granted to its people. In many aspects of their political system, they have begun to come closer to a democratic system, but also with a strong presence and a fear of the memories since the incident in Tiananmen Square. People are upset that their counterparts in the United States can surf the internet as much as they want without the fear of being watched or taken to prison with no trial. As corruption runs rampant through the government, many people in power refuse to go to court or find a way around the judiciary system. Owen Smith states in his recent book, The Year of the Tiger, that many party leaders resist an all-out crackdown on graft and corruption for fear it could threaten their own authority. As the country deals with territorial disputes in their neighboring waters and blamed for cyber attacks against Western countries, the Chinese political system, domestically and internationally, is digging itself into a bottomless pit with no life rope attached.
Okay, some social issues. Due to the immense amount of social issues in China, they're inhibiting China from being the next superpower. Three of the largest issues are the one-child policy, other human rights violations, and boarding issues. With the one-child policy, according to the China Academy of Social Sciences in 2010, they stated that in 10 years, 1 of 5 men won't have a wife due to the gender discrimination of men to women. This has made some women take medication for multiple births as a rebellion, and most of China are dissatisfied with the law and they might cause a revolution. They have also have high infertility rates because of their abortions. With the freedom of speech, we can see from the example of Ai Weiwei that freedom of speech and independent expression have been silenced by the government. And with bordering issues, another issue is that while China is focusing on finding allies with other countries like India and Vietnam, Taiwan, a part of China, has separated. Because of the split, it opens up ideas that China is slowly falling apart. Tibet might take this idea, and once the Dalai Lama dies, he will choose a successor that will lead to another revolution for Tibet to become an independent state. Along with Tibet and Taiwan, the region of Xinjiang has some increased religious persecution from the government, which is causing the Uyghur people to rise in rebellion.
All right, let's take a look at some of the economic issues and factors that will decide whether they become a world power or not. First off, some statistics are growing at a rate of approximately 8 to 10% a year. In 2012, their GDP was $8.227 trillion. They do have a population of over 1.3 billion, and their GDP per capita is $9,120, and those statistics come from the World Bank. Now, why are those statistics important? Their GDP, though it is large, it has begun to decline, or the growth of GDP. It did start out at 14% in 2007, which was its peak, and it has decreased, and as we can see in 2012, it decreased to 8%. This growth rate can be estimated to continue to decrease in coming years as the economy loses the areas of considerable expansion that were available in the early 2000s. Now, despite a large GDP and the yearly growth, because of the massive population of the country, the per capita GDP is in the lower half of the world. As you can see in the chart, they do have one of the largest populations in the world, and a massive amount of the population of the world. And this drives their per capita down. And this low per capita means that there's going to be a lower standard of living for many citizens, especially those in the rural areas, and a disconnect in the wealth distribution. This will eventually lead to more and more government assistance for those in poverty, which will deplete the country's resources. And the country is already stressed with their natural resources, especially fuels and agricultural products, and this can cause serious issues. On top of these issues, the government has pegged the renminbi to the American dollar, amassing enormous amounts of the U.S. currency to try and keep the dollar strong on the market compared to the renminbi. This has created a trade surplus for China of approximately $273 billion. But this dependency on one country for approximately 18% of their GDP is dangerous. They cannot release the U.S. dollars on the market because that will inflate the U.S. dollar, And U.S. consumers will lose their desire to buy Chinese products due to the lack of their purchasing power. If China does decide to keep what they have in U.S. currency, they lose the opportunity for their own currency to grow in worth and effectively stifle their purchasing power. They have trended away from this policy of currency pegging in recent years, but from the practice, they've created a new no-win situation for themselves. So these economic issues, along with the political structure that is wrought with corruption and human rights violations as well as internal disputes, will stymie China's opportunity to become the next world superpower, and they will not rise above just a little bit more where they're currently at, is what we believe.
And here are references.